The way you get more for yourself is by serving your fellow man. And that is, are the American people as human beings, are we any different from the Romans, the French, the Portuguese, the Spanish, Britain, the English, great empires of the past that went down the tubes for mostly bread and circuses? Are the American people any different from that?
So do you think
I don't know.
A lot of people think that it's too late to turn back and reverse things. And I wonder, you know, like, for example, people say, oh, we're getting near a tipping point where so many people are dependent on government that there's no turning back. I mean, are you a pessimist or an optimist on, is it too late to turn things around?
Well, you know, I have a very good friend and colleague, longtime friend and colleague, Thomas Sowell. When we talk on the phone, he said, you know, Walter, you know, the only thing good about being our age is when the stuff really hits the fan. We'll be gone.
Oh, wow. And that is true. And also our RIP to Mr. Walter Williams. Wow. Wow. When the stuff really hits the fan, and shout out to him for mentioning his good friend, who's also held up as one of the intellects of conservatism. And I'm not going to say black intellects, but that too. But that was his friend, and that's pretty cool.
Now,
that's pretty pessimistic.
No, but however, I think that if there's an optimistic note, is that American people have never done the wrong thing for the long time. We always managed to get our house to act together. But we are close to the point that we don't have much time to get our act together. I think that we need to have extensive cuts in spending. And I think that the only way politically you can do it is to have something like, you know, a meat axe approach, something like a 10% across the board, because people who are beneficiaries of various programs, then they'll rally politically against you. But I don't see Americans supporting that until there's some catastrophe in our country. Maybe they will.
Is that why it's always a catastrophe? That's seemingly that everybody say, "Ooh, it's pretty is a coincidence that we just so happen to go to war at this time. Such a coincidence that we're dealing with this sickness at the time. It's such a coincidence, you know what I mean, that this shooting happened, this mass shooting happened at this time. It's such a coincidence that these food warehouses and food suppliers are being set on fire at this time. Are we creating our own catastrophes so that we can be able to get back on our feet? I don't even know how the catastrophes help. Is that just something that brings us together, or do we just automatically find a solution during catastrophes? Do we just come together and start spending our money to help more when something bad happens? I don't understand that, but I've heard it many times. Just trying to understand it now.
But you know, I could be absolutely wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But so, my daughter and her recently got married a couple of years ago, and they were asking me some recommendations for the future, and so I said, well, you ought to try to save and hide in your own property about $40,000 or $50,000 in gold coin, and not as an investment, but as a way to get out of our country.
Wow.
They said, well, where do you go? Well, so I said, well, you know, New Zealand, Australia. And I said, but where to go is not a very important question when things get bad, just anywhere other than. So things can get rough, and history shows that in other great civilizations of the past. And so
I noticed he said gold coin. The gentleman that first turned me on to reading certain books, like the Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and get me to check out other political not other, but political conversations and whatnot. Gentleman by the name of Robert. Um, he also was schooling me about, giving me information about collecting metals, specifically gold coins and gold nuggets and gold pieces. He was collecting silver as well, and like he was into that. And the fact that he just echoed something that this gentleman used to tell me all the time. It's just confirmation. So, my question to y'all again, and this is not to the supporters of the channel, this is to the people that continue to say hateful things about me simply because I'm on this path. I'm checking out these people. How is this bad for me that I'm learning this? How is this bad for you that I'm checking it out so that others could be able to hear it for themselves? This is very productive information. I mean, in my opinion, it's positive. I don't get it.
So again, this question, are we any different?
So you're obviously one of the strongest advocates for the free enterprise system that we have in this country, and thank you for that. I've heard you talk many times, and I love the story you tell about how it is that, I wonder if you could share this with the folks here. How is it that people in New York City, where there are no cows and no cattle, how do they get steak at night?
Well, one of the things I was arguing with, I was making the point that many people think that good is done by caring for others. And my point is, when people ask me, well, what's that human motivation that gets the most wonderful things done? I say greed. I'm not talking about ripping off people, robbing and fraud and stealing. I'm talking about people trying to get as much as they can for themselves. Now, most people don't, they never looked at it way. I say, well, I asked the question. I say, well, look, last winter you had Texas cattle ranchers getting up in the dead of night in blizzards, going out, rounding up stray cows, trying to take care of the cows, make sure they're eating, and making this personal sacrifice so that New Yorkers would have beef on their shelves. You have Idaho potato farmers getting up doing back-breaking work, sun beating down and fingernails, dirt underneath their fingernails, bug bites, and making this personal sacrifice so that New Yorkers also have potatoes on the shelves. Now the question is, why are they doing that? Do you think it's because they love New Yorkers? They may hate New Yorkers. I'm not that wild about New Yorkers myself.
He said, I'm not that crazy about New Yorkers myself. Hey, but I'm picking up what he putting down, man. They hustling and they doing it for a reason.
They may hate New Yorkers, but they make sure that beef and potatoes gets New York every single day of the week. Why? Because they want more for themselves. And that's the great virtue of the free market system, is the way you get more for yourself is by serving your fellow man.
I like that. The way you get more for yourself is by serving your fellow man. I like that. The way you get more for yourself. Oh, man, you have to say that again, bro. You got to say that again. The way you get more for yourself is by serving your fellow man. The more people you serve, the more you will get. Why? Because God said that if you serve his people, you will be rewarded. Simple and plain. You serve his people, you will be rewarded.
Great virtue of the free market system.
Wow.
Is the way you get more for yourself is by serving your fellow man.
Yeah.
Making your fellow man happy. And that's what the free market is about. And matter of fact, if you ask the question,
wow,
the pursuit of profits, in another way to put it, if you ask the question, if you just look around, you look at what do Americans complain about? Well, do we complain about supermarkets? What about our computer stores? Are there a lot of complaints about the clothing stores? No. Where do people complain? They complain about public schools, complain about the post office, the motor vehicles department. Compare. Now, cars and television sets and clothing and supermarkets, they're motivated by profits. The public education, the motor vehicle department, and post office, they're nonprofit organizations. So profit, being profit motivating, is profit motivation gets people to try to please their fellow man, because in the free market they get more for themselves.
And then what happens is you end up getting blessed in the end anyway. Like sometimes you think that, oh, I'm chasing this money, I'm chasing this success, I'm chasing this, I'm chasing that, I'm chasing this, I'm chasing that. Then you start to have conversations with some of the people you've been helping, some of the people you've served, and then you realize that your hustle, your grind, was not about money the entire time. It was simply you doing your part to help mankind. You made things better by simply doing your part. And by simply doing your part, now you are blessed as well. You're living in abundance now because you've done your part. At the end of the day, all of us are Christians. No, not all of us. But when we do God's work and we realize that, and we're doing it we're not doing God's work for him. We're doing it as a representation of him, as like we are his children, her children, if you think God is a lady. I don't want to start no arguments. But it all comes back in full circle, man. That when we blessed, we get blessed.
By serving their fellow man.
So why is this, this is the last question I'll ask, then we'll open it up to you all. Why is this such a tough sell? I mean, it's so obvious what you're saying, to people who understand the way the world works. And it's just
One of my books.
Yeah. All right, so that's it, guys. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about that, man. That was powerful in my opinion. Let me know what y'all thought about that in the comments below. And if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so on your way out the door. Once again, guys, I am Van, and now we are all the LFR family, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video, hopefully inside of the Patreon as well. You all have been amazing, man. Thank you for hanging out with me. Love you.